It says we're live.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, everything on our end is on. Sure, she started screening. We are ready. All right. I'm not the master police. You want? Yes, that's one of the issues I want to deal with. So are we rolling? Yes. Okay. Now that we are all set with our electronics here, we'll call this meeting to order. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to request Representative Ray, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today.
I pledge allegiance to the
The
flag
flag of the United States of America,
which stands one nation under God.
God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll note that all commissioners are present. We have a quorum. Commissioner Starr and Chair Gomez are here in person, and I see that Commissioner Price is with us virtually. Hello, Commissioner Price.
Hello. Thank you for accommodating me. I had a work conflict and couldn't make it there in time, so I appreciate it.
Making sure you get it all done, so thank you for being here. Even virtually. Approval of previous minutes. Did you get minutes? Did I not see them? Betty, I know you were out for some time, and I don't think you've been in the office long enough to get us minutes. Do we have any minutes that we've been sent that we have not approved or gone over yet?
No, you do not. I have not had the opportunity to complete them.
No worries. I know that you actually have to take some vacation time in your life. I'm happy you're able to take some time. So we'll forego that as we have no minutes to approve at this current meeting. So that goes into our business portion. And well, first I'd like to address why we are here and not able to meet in a county building. Go ahead and skip down to the very high executive order. You want to just drop that commission on that right here for you? Too long. Here you are. That's it's a little bit out of order from the agenda. However, we're going to skip down and talk about that first. it was made known to the election commission that we're not, apparently not allowed in the county building to hold our public meeting. So we found a suitable public location so the public can actually attend our meetings and they can be open. We're notified that Mr. Barry Hyde of Pleasant County has this executive order. Looks like it was filed on December 31st, 2020. Commissioner Starr, do you have any commentary about this, or possibly any ideas that we as a commission can function with the constraints given to us by the county judge?
One thing I thought about previously is whether we could be at the state board election commissioners. So that they have a meeting space inside of the London Hospital.
So we heard, sure.
I brought up some different issues. We were notified of this executive order prior to its filing several weeks ago, when we learned that the interim director was going to be out without any
Prior notice of
Any
that.
notice. as well as a notice that the director was going to be out for several months. We received an email that there was going to be, they're basically working from home. That only one person would be working at the office, which I'm a little bit, don't understand how that's going to work without closing a foundation. And I responded to that email regarding there was a statement there saying there was a policy. There was a policy in the elections division saying that they were going to work virtually. They had a policy, and I asked for that policy. I've never received a policy because, from my understanding, we established those policies, and we have never created a policy.
I'm fairly sure the statute gives that authority as a commission, correct?
We established those policies. I responded when there was some confusion about this meeting, because I didn't know we were having a meeting, and this which I'm very thankful for. And I had reached out, I guess yesterday, and we need to update the agenda. I received this correspondence from Mr. Kent that the county judge has said we're going to only have virtual meetings, and that's what it's going to be. And I said the county judge is the authority of the commission and how we conduct our meetings, and we make those determinations of how meetings are conducted. And if we have to, we'll put it in place.
But that's what I did, and that's when found places to go. And as the chair, that's my purview, to set all the meetings, location, and set the agenda.
The committee says the agenda before chair.
Yes, correct.
So this has been an ongoing issue. It's getting silly. So we have a lot of business during Taurus. We have, as you know, this is the odd year, so we have potentially new commissioners coming in, but we still have business before us, and they need to discuss that business. There's a precedent, I understand, regarding virtual meetings. I have reached out. I know there's a bill that's been filed regarding the issue of public meetings in a pandemic, and I understand that. Elections is a little legal thing. I will say that during the ballot review of the November 3rd, 2020 election, if we were in person and we had the ability to review those, I forget how many, it was under 400 and close to 1,000 styles in person. And we're actually provided the list where you cross-reference, this is an example. But typically you have a list of cross-referencing the ballots on the splits, the precincts, the numbers to the ballots. I don't think we would have had some of the issues that we had. We all had to go to depositions over the past month for. That is a reason why we should not be doing elections in these meetings.
I'm not aware of any other county board of election commissioners who are being compelled to meet virtually.
There are I reached out to the Arkansas Association of Counties, before, that's the reason I asked for that FAQs and do that FAQs before the voting started. And I actually talked to them and said, hey, I want to get some guidance on the other counties and how can we operate an election if the county voting is closed? I was trying to, what are other counties doing? How can we, how can we do this? And no other counties are doing that and have been doing that. So we are an anomaly. So this is where we are. So to get around that, there is an issue. One, we can find a new building. But there was an issue today. I guess that was this morning, it was last night, but there was an email that was sent that stated that, and thank you, Jody, for I feel like kind of took that effort on her. But in the email, the statement was that staff would not be provided for us today. So, that the role of, which is a little different than what's stated, in my understanding of the role of the election coordinator, is the role of the interim election coordinator was to protect the health of the staff, not to administer the day-to-day operations of the election commission, and therefore would not be staffing for purposes of agency. So that will be an issue in the future if we do try to have meetings in the
We had no less than 6 emails yesterday talking about the meeting, asking why the updated agenda had not been posted, and all of them went unanswered by the staff.
And when I say staff, we like to always take has mean staff leadership.
That's right, it was, I believe it's Mr. Sean King is currently the person in charge.
So
Jody, on the other hand, responded to a message I sent him as quickly as he could. And I appreciate that. So that staff member in particular is responsive. However, Mr. Camp has not been. And I'm not sure why that is.
So I would like to, we simply, with everything in this law, with the issues that we dealt with the issues I discovered just by going through my deposition and even finding out new issues that I didn't even know about just in the past 24 hours that was never brought to light, this commission. It is not of this interest in this commission or the Posse County voters to operate in a virtual environment. And while I understand that we need to protect the public safety and the common good, we can do things and still use the least amount of staff to operate. We can use laptops, not print, etc. like we've been doing. But and still live streaming is going to be how we do everything here. I mean, everything we do is going to be live streamed. We discussed that before the pandemic, that we were going to be live streaming everything that we do. That was something that might be busted. But we cannot afford to operate in a. I understand that county judge has constitutional authority to place everything. But that does not mean that we have to. So, Madam Chair, I request that we change the location of buildings. And we compel the staff to staff those meetings as they require to. Commissioner Ross. Thoughts? And then you have to speak really loud.
Yeah, you're across the room. The computer is socially distant from us. So we're
Yeah,
essentially.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
What the recommendation is on the board, I haven't made a motion. I've been reading from Robert's rules of the past weekend. What the recommendation on the board is that we understand the county judge has the constitutional authority to do what he may with his buildings. But we as the commission also have an obligation, and that is to the Quasi County voters. And throughout this election, we've had many issues. And a lot of those issues could have been avoided if we were in person with our eyes on certain things, such as the ballots.
Mr. Bubba's name's being misspelled.
Exactly. So we can't afford going forward to keep operating in the vacuum. And as much as I'm a huge proponent of technology and doing things in a streamlined fashion, there are some things that cannot be done virtually. And these meetings there are some that can, when there's discussion only, but a lot of these meetings simply cannot, because they're reviewing things where you have to compare one thing to another. In fact, we're not providing any kind of technology to the county. So we don't have to have our meetings at the county. There is nothing that compels us to do that. In fact, we can have meetings at the point is we can have meetings wherever we want, as long as we get notice and we stay where that location is. We can have it there at Pizza. I mean, it's really wherever we want to do it, as long as we let people know in advance where it's going to be and it's open for people. So the question, Commissioner Price, is what is your thoughts on that?
That's fine with me. I don't have any objections to that. As long as the meeting space is announced well ahead of time and we know that it's open to the public and they're able to have access to the building, I don't have any issue with where we hold it.
I will make a motion. And my final motion is to, so long as there is an executive order by the county judge to not give us access to the county buildings to hold our meetings by the county board election commissioners from Posse County, that we will, whenever possible, hold our meetings in an outside building outside the public county building.
So, is there a second?
I would like to, if I may, make potentially a friendly amendment to that, because I am also concerned about the coronavirus, as we all are. And of course, numbers are rising in our state, and we want to be as safe as possible and keep the public as safe as possible. So I would like to add a friendly amendment that if the meeting is simply a discussion and doesn't necessitate us coming together to review anything physically, could we maybe lean towards a virtual option in those instances? Like meet when needed in this, whatever location, but also have the virtual option, just to protect ourselves and the staff as well, if it's not necessary for us to meet in person.
If there's not a necessity for reviewing or approving, there's, but anytime there's documentation for reviewing and approving.
Right. Yes.
If there is documentation there's election materials,
Mhm.
there's their ballots, anything that has to do with elections, anything that we must certify, anything that we must review or improve, anything that we must compare or examine, we shall be enforcing. And so I have no problem with that.
Okay, then I second that motion. I
Can we please eliminate the second?
Sure, it's not necessary for a small one. They did add a tradition. And I will note that I explored options of state board election commissioners today, and apparently their facilities are not open after hours with regular business hours. So just keep that as, as a note that they're still during the regular work day. However, during session, this might be harder for you to get. However, there's some other options out there.
We have folks that we can reach out to and.
Well, and with our discussion of the meeting, this is not on the agenda, however, it has been brought to my attention multiple times. That's the reason I took my mask off, is only so I can be heard. It would be very advantageous for us to have microphones. I actually talked to Joey about this today, and he said, yes, he wants to get microphones. So we budgeted money for technology. We should have money budgeted. I assume our budget was approved. Mr. Poe never did get back to me as far as our budget for this year. I didn't hear that there were any changes to request to ask for. Did you? They just tied into our meeting remotely. Sure, absolutely. All right. There's anything else on the executive order? Any further discussion? We'll move on to our election commission contracts. Commissioner Price, if you want to start, do you have any discussion? Start with you.
Any discussion on the contracts, Madam Chair? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I do not have any discussion on that.
Commissioners?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm still not seeing all of the contracts for one. I have requested, let's first look at a contract.
And where do we find the SharePoint?
So it's called the PCEC Com. And Jeff, let me ask you a technical question. And I'm asking this for the public. A lot of times I ask questions that may have answers to, but I want to make sure that they're very transparent and people show. So we're utilizing Microsoft Office 365, and we have the SharePoint site that we're utilizing. Director Cole has set up a for you, but it says that he is the owner of this. Correct. So if he is the owner of this, and let's say that Director Cole is not here, as his phone is not through March or July or something. What happens if he can't access this anymore? Who else has the ability to modify? Because I can't go in and modify anything in the SharePoint site. I have no permission.
I have administrative rights to that. Amanda has administrative rights to that.
The commissioners.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and we can allow everybody to have it because it's really a repository to allow commissioners, staff, whoever, to upload documents to share in this kind of way. So that's a very easy.
Please add all the commissioners to that.
That needs to be, because I have lots of information that I want to make sure that is being shared. And of course, all of this is, as long as it's not something that's, considered redactable, but
Right.
not.
Good thing about our office is just about all of the information that comes through there is publicly available.
So to me, it makes it also easier if we have this very organized and available. So when we get all these requests, 10,000 employee requests,
Yeah.
and it's highly organized, it makes it much easier to grab that information bullet. So, I was going through and I have so much information on it, I've been here. And I have my own drive cell, I have lots of information. So
What do you consider for-
that was my question. I was a little bit concerned about that. It needs to have all of that. So, thank you for doing these contracts.
Is this everything?
No, this is not everything. I haven't asked you for these contracts as everyone knows for a long time, but I have some questions and I don't know who can answer these questions, if Sean can answer these questions. But I see how some of these contracts, for example, the dates of these contracts, so we have never seen these contracts in the or commission, table. But they've been signed off on. And there's not even a line for us to sign. It will directly pass this one straight to the county judge. And some of these have some kind of historic emails attached to them. And I'm trying to remember which one it was. I want was it the print contract? Or the standard business contract? It was.
I do notice that.
The timeline had a very huge issue. And in some of these, I don't see the SOWs, statement of work. I did send an email, I got no reply, and I have been asking for this information for quite a while. I guess maybe I'm used to how the state works. But we're pretty open about our information. And it has been impossible to get this information to come up. So I don't know why I can't access statement of work. I don't know why I can't find out the lowest bids. I don't know why, and these are all contracts. Why I can't see this information. But for example, on this, this is the standard business systems. It's a lease agreement. It's standard business systems. Shiba, eStudio, maintenance agreement for the copiers.
That's the top here, there's one in the main office and one back.
This is for 2020, which I was here. And this is regarding renewal. And it seems like this is happening after the fact. Because it's an email regarding, hey, your lease already is expired. Do you want to, continue the lease if it's already expired? It's to us that we didn't receive it. And there's some questions back and forth. Put it aside. Did y'all like this contract? There's a letter for the election commission. We never received the election. We never received the letter. And then it's signed off by, there's a grants admin who's got signed off on it, the purchasing signature, the comptroller signature, and county attorney signature. And so what I would like from staff leadership is to know what the process is for approving contracts for the Pulaski County Election Commission. And have that process. Because I don't see the process. And why we're not getting those contracts submitted to the actual commission to review.
This is something that was brought up since even before you were on the commission.
And I brought this was in August. So this is something, one that I've been asking a lot, and I can't seem to get, and there's another reason I've been asking it is the poll worker sign up database. And that is a company based out of Georgia. And that's the one I keep asking about, and I don't know why it's not in here.
That's the one that Mr. Crowe wanted, what, was $15,000? And then on our budget.
It's a $5 contract. But it is an elections, it's an elections spending. So I'm very interested in that contract, because I want to see if we can compete contracts with them. But the reason I'm asking about that contract is I think we need to really look at how we're wording that information, when we're getting that and pulling that data. We need to have some different information that we're gathering. We need to be asking certain questions. But we can't if we don't have the information on what we put in, whether we did RFP or RFQ, whatever we did. I have no idea what the original request was. So that's another one that you asking. Any more insights on that?
I don't, and unfortunately, I don't do anything with the old database I managed because it was in-house, a SQL server, but that aged out. It was like 20 years old. That's why they opted to go with a more updated system.
The print contract is important. You know, we're the only county that uses a printer outside of our election systems project. Out of 75 counties, we're the only county that does not use ESS. I wonder why are we using that? Who is the vendor? What's the relationship to the vendor? To anybody else in the county? I just want to make sure there's no improper relationships. And that's the reason you look at these things. But why are we the county doing that? And that one of the questions I asked and never got the answer to is we had that issue when those 10,000 ballots can be destroyed. Oh, yes. Because we had to remove the issues on the ballot.
Oh, the one where Brian Coe, erroneously told us the Secretary of State was, wanted us to put it back on, the issues, and had a sworn statement that was false. That time, yes, I remember that.
So I asked what they did with those ballots. And I never received that answer. And then I asked a question, you know, I finally got the answer, how many ballots do we order? How many go to the county clerk? How many do we receive? I mean, how many total over time are we using that possibly the exact cost? And then how many, and what is the process from this printer to get rid of those ballots? You know, I want to know what do they do on their side? Because I know ESS has a very, you know, distinct process, and all the other counties have that, but we don't know this process by the printer. I just really want to have the information. You know, ballots to me should be treated like money. So that's something that I still want, and hopefully Sean can hear me. But that's information that I keep requesting in the conversation. So that needs to be added to this piece as well. So we're definitely missing some more contracts, and this is supposed to be some fought back to the
There were, I think we some smart documents that we have supported as well. Besides just the contracts, we asked for everything, all of our documents and templates. From what you have seen, does it look like we received those?
You know what these numbers are doing?
In the SharePoint? No, I haven't, honestly, I don't. I haven't actually looked in the SharePoint other than looking
Sean, is Sean?
I'll look at that.
Sean, do you know what the templates are on SharePoint?
I do not.
Do you know what I'm referring to?
Vaguely, I have lost access to those files. I've been trying to get in, but I can't look at those folders right now. But no, I don't know what those templates are. I didn't open them and look. I just saw the titles.
under 2020 training, I see things like screenshots, I see provisional ballot examples, I see a training reimbursement form, and your absentee. The brochure. I'm not seeing. Commissioner Price, have you had a chance to look through the shared drive?
I've skimmed it, but to be honest, I haven't looked through it thoroughly. I haven't gone in a deep dive into all of it.
Because all everything I'm looking at, they're JPEGs, so they're not actual forms. Like they're actual pictures of like a box, for example, of a voter organization. They're not the actual templates.
Do you think we were unclear in any way as to what we wanted to be in there? The possible Mr. Coach, know what was requested of him? Commissioner Price?
No, I mean, I think it'll definitely be a process for us to get everything that we need and we want. And this is kind of the first step, I would say.
So,
Do you know if the information for the persons that we contact for if we get a you know, or is it
Right, the email. I don't know if it's in shared drive, but I did get that.
Yes, I
You
did.
got a copy of that.
email to me at
Yeah,
524.
yeah, something in that neighborhood.
I don't have access to PCEC, the email for PCEC.
The email from PCE.
Yes, I assume there's a way to email PCEC.
Yeah, to come out of PCE, there is.
And how does that expose it to not do it? So is there
Okay,
email
so,
alias?
right, so the email list on, like, so the blast on that actually doesn't come out of our PCEC email itself. It has that as the return address, but in our, our server software, that's where the documents are created, and then it's called a user list or a news list, and you put whoever, so we have people every day say, take me off, put me on, and that's where that list is kept, so that you can maintain who has to opt out after they're signed up.
And then commissioners get access.
That is a server level thing that I currently only have access to, because there's a lot of technical doors to go through on that. The information I can get, pardon?
You're the one sending out.
No, Mr. Kemp can log in and send out the agenda, but it doesn't have, the nuts and bolts controls are kind of, since they're more technical, they're locked down just to keep anything from being messed up accidentally. I guess they'll have to go everywhere.
so?
But the commissioners can have the same access.
To send out that, I can definitely.
I don't think I want to have access to send out email. I think we have access to see what the email is.
Oh, yeah.
That's the access the commissioners should have. They should be getting an access to be able to see the emails and that distribution.
And that is the email system.
Okay.
That's just a matter of adding
We have asked for this
separate login.
for months,
I'm fine with that.
It's not,
not to you. We have requested this,
we need access to that.
That part is high level.
Everything that's in the network, so like, I'm assuming there is a folder that's labeled Secretary of State. And it has any communications going back and forth, or documents, or reimbursement information in the state form. All of that information that is considered, I mean, anything that's going back and forth that's not directly regarding personnel matters is the elections, the county election commissioners information, and all that needs to be. So anything that's currently being saved onto the network should be in the market. And if the commissioners change, it's easy administration or issue, it's really then you have to go in. But the issue is that we need to make sure that we have full access to everything that a staff member would have outside of personnel issues. And that is what. And I was requesting the name because that is the issue. I'm not saying that to you.
Jody, you have zero qualms with your work ethic over products.
That's the access issue. We simply, I would say it frustrated me in the last deposition to someone to ask me all these questions about where's the meeting minutes. And this, we didn't want this public information back after that big request here for a second. And I said, we're on the website. Who does the meeting minutes? I said, she said, who's responsible? We are. But who does it? And I told her who does it. She said, working on mine. And I told her where she was. She said, why are they stopping in September? Well, you're responsible.
Mine at least went to November, but it wasn't until day 2 of my deposition after I sent an email to Amanda to update the website that the rest of November was in. In fact, I just,
Well, I
Jody
did
was
ask
there.
an email.
Yeah, I got one. And I apologize because that indeed was, those minutes were ready. And as my understanding, Betty lets me know when they're approved, because they gotta be approved before we can post them officially. And I think just in the craziness of the election, there was like 3 or 4 that I just needed to publish. And I'll take responsibility for that, and I apologize that they weren't put up in the time of the man, but I got them up as soon as I was
But
made
you
aware.
see, but the issue is at the end of the day, no matter, I couldn't stop, I couldn't explain, I could explain
Right.
myself and say, but
Yeah.
I have no access. I
Oh,
can't
yes.
upload them. I can't log in. I can't get on a computer. I can't even open the door. I can't even enter the building. I don't have VPN. I don't have a laptop. I can't do any of these things. I mean, it was irrelevant. That was really frustrating because no other county can operate that. And they don't, the person that was asking really somebody didn't care. So that's frustrating. And at the end of the day, it simply is irrelevant because it's our responsibility. It is completely ours. And that is something that I've been speaking to you since last year, 2019, in the form of village. So I would like to make a motion to request to have Mr. Pan, since he is an individual director, to request all the witness testimony, including the exhibits from the District 32 State Claims Commission case. It just ended on January. So that we can review them in our next meeting.
I made that request earlier today to Ms. Catherine Irby at the Claims Commission because I heard something in my deposition that greatly concerned me regarding, especially regarding Mr. Camp. And I wanted to read the testimony myself, so I actually sent a FOIA request to Ms. Catherine Irby. But however, Mr. Camp, if you could go ahead and do that, that would be great.
So you could request that information from the state claims so that we could start going through and figuring out some of those issues and how we need to address those and process changes.
And their director is Catherine Irby, Catherine Kathryn, Irby IRBY. You can find their contact information information in there on the South Plains Commission website. They had a very polite staff person who answered the phone to answer all my questions I asked. So we should have no problem getting that request in, and I would suggest we do it either right now or first thing in the morning.
Should,
Sean, can you hear me? Could you hear my request?
I heard that you were requesting some information. I didn't hear exactly what it was. The audio is pretty garbled.
The information that's requested is to have all the deposition witness testimony, all the exhibits for the District 32 state claims case that just ended on January 4th that was decided, so that we can review those at our next meeting and go through and see what process changes that we need to make. And then we can put that on the OneDrive and name that District 32. Did you catch that?
Anything further on our business?
No.
Okay, I do have some other business. First, I want to address microphones, and that's the reason I took my mask off. Not that I think Mr. Coates claims I had a vocabulary attitude towards coronavirus. I think he told me multiple times in a meeting recently. That's not the case. That's patently false. I'm removing masks so I can be heard because we have had numerous complaints with those folks who are meeting on meetings. They can't hear us because we're socially distant with a mask across the room. They don't hear us. And I spoke to Jody today specifically about microphones, and that is something Jody would like to do. We budgeted money for technology in our budget. Once again, I'm not quite sure what our budget is, and Mr. Poe's never gotten that back to me. After our requested budget, I assume we have budget. That's another thing we're not provided with. But I would think that we should buy microphones so our meetings can be heard in our meetings. And Jody, I asked Jody if you wouldn't mind going ahead and getting that legwork done and researching and finding out the best ones that's going to fit our budget and be the best economically and fiscally responsible for us to get the service people requested.
Also, to piggyback off that, because it's very similar, one of the requests actually that we made, Commissioner Price, if you can hear me, remember this, we said that we will be putting cameras in all the ballot rooms, in the Jefferson Hawkins room, in the tabulation room. There are several rooms that we will be putting cameras in. So, Jody, do you know what the status of
I'll need to find the documentation, but I actually have I guess we call it bid on that from, I think last year when we were doing we got our backup server fixed that was offsite. And that was something that was in tier 2 of that. And at the time, I guess it wasn't a budget thing that was going to happen, but I should have the paperwork I can find. Yeah.
So what I'm envisioning, Commissioner Price, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, but what I'm envisioning is similar to something you used to see on the movies. I like that literally people have this in their own homes now, but where you can turn on your TV and you can see how you can see your garage and you can see on your back porch.
Closed circuit television.
Literally a closed circuit, yes. And it's super affordable, but we should be able to, in an election, be able to see what's going on in the tabulation room, what's going on in remaking ballots, and what's going on, in the ballot area as well as our meeting at the same time. So we should be able to be running multiple cameras and monitoring that and recording that and then maintaining that feed for, and we'll have to probably address this during session about how long this should be maintained, especially if there's an issue in the process. So,
I will say what I probably need to do, since it's been about a year, I will probably need to get new numbers, because I'm, you know how the prices change, so to give me,
we got a grant,
that'd be great.
remember? There was a grant, a $15,000 grant, or something like something that could be used for.
But that was exactly what we were talking about, city cameras and have the ocean room and all in the back where everything can be used in multiple uses. So if you just give me about a week to make sure those are current numbers.
I like it. Make it work. And I recall the November 3rd election, we requested multiple cameras where the absentee ballots are being canvassed. And we ended up only having one.
That was again, because we were just, we were underprepared for the situation at hand, unfortunately. And that will be fixed by what we're proposing now.
We also in the future want to look at hiring additional people, and I think we should look at like internships that can help out with those kinds of duties. You know, I'm sure there are people that would love to, you know, help out and do some IT function and not really having access, but just, you know, help set up things and, you know, as college students maybe interested in doing some of those functions, so that we don't have, you know, that we're not able to do some things that we need to do because we don't have people. We focus so much on co-workers, we're not focusing on the things that we
I have a couple other things that I wanted to address today.
I read one thing, so I'm probably.
Okay, let me look at my list first and we'll see what I left out. So, like I said, I was written briefed with some things that I learned when I was being proposed. I'm very glad I made that request to get a copy of the. One of the things that I think it would behoove the commission is if there was an audit. And I called the state board and I asked about this. And Mr. Schultz was pretty frank and said during the last session there was a bill that would have addressed that. I just want audit hours.
Yeah.
However, it reminded me that, oh yes, that's right.
That's correct.
However, I said, well, in lieu of an audit, I do know that the state board can review things. And if the other commissioners think it's a good idea, requesting the state board of election commissioners to review our procedures, and practices and actions and or audit as appropriate what happened during the November 3rd. Would be something that would be a good learning experience and a way to identify problems and things.
I do think it will be helpful. I'm gonna choose my one third.
I think asking for a state board review.
I will ask for a state board review, but like many audits will never catch things that are. Audits will not capture things that we've done in such a way you can't reprint it. And that makes sense.
It does.
The only thing that's gonna fix that is like, I do agree with the audit of processes, but that means auditing the actual processes that were changed
Yes, that's
based on what previous processes were.
So that's one of the things, the
I think
disturbing
that
things
needs to
I
be very
learned.
specific to that.
That was a disturbing thing that I learned in my deposition that apparently the staff Sue Esponte decided to,
Stephanie.
that's right, so I called her. Yeah, especially decided to go ahead and change. Those proceedings have changed.
That is, I think will be helpful when we can. I think that the commission as a whole needs to be able to review all of that information. And so that we can kind of go by that line by line, because I learned things I did not know about, such as mapping errors that were not disclosed and other things. So again, I think discussing all that will be confusing, and the public is going to talk about. So I think it's really worse, and I'd rather be more transparent and go through that where we have all the information for this, because there's probably more that I don't even understand or know about. So I think that we should have that as a meeting and go through all the information. But I do agree, I think we should audit, but on the processes that were altered and the processes that were in place. And under the relaxed rules of Robert's rules.
And I also volunteer to make the request myself to the state board, so that they can do the commission, not have to even worry about it. I'll make that request. So I'd like to, so you can say. So you need to vote on it. Just like. The vote of the commissioners regarding asking the state board to review their processes. All ones that were altered and put in place for the November 3rd, 2020 election. Bryce, I didn't hear you. But
Sorry. Aye.
It's madness. Yeah. You know who else audits? The state board is one who audits.
No, legislative.
We actually have some legislators here. And so I'd like to ask a couple of folks in the audience, tell us about legislative audits. Who would like to inform the commission about legislative audits? Senator Johnson, you are recognized.
If you could come up here, we could
If
pick,
you'd like to be on the video, you know.
well, with the video, the audio would be important for the minutes. Excellent.
We will mask up, so if you get unmasked, won't be heard, that's fine. I'll be brief.
Of course, legislative audit is a function to, in the case you're talking about, the auditing state, county, municipal agencies that handle both programs and monies. And oftentimes we think, well, it's just about money. But there's also that they follow proper procedures, including procurement and other laws that apply to all governmental entities and stuff like that, the state government or city county. There's a few areas that maybe are not as often thought of. For example, would be the independent agencies like the Highway Commission and the Fish Commission. But generally, they do audit every institution, including institutions of higher learning, University of Arkansas State University System, etc. Generally, they don't get into the procedural things except for how it has to do with compliance. And a lot of times, compliance is not just about money, it's how you, Commissioner Starr mentioned some of the procurement that was done, the three commissioners have not had an opportunity to maybe participate in that could possibly be something that they would look at. Obviously, there are laws you can't, for example, hire your brother-in-law to do computer work or things like that. There's nothing wrong with having a person do this, but there's procedures when someone might be in potential conflict. There's procedures that have to be followed to ensure that the public's integrity is maintained. I am, at least until Monday, when the 93rd General Assembly comes in, I am a member of the Legislative Audit Committee, and certainly all Representative House, Representative Gray, Representative Lowry are here. And I don't think any of y'all on audit at this time. Doug, you have but we all have access to them as far as getting information about this. They have a good staff. Obviously, they can't look at everything, but there are other possibilities on how something could be reviewed. Anytime you get into the procedures, dealing with how things are purchased, how things are spent, the state has a vested interest in it. And we, General Assembly, the state government in general, see our role dealing with counties is to not only help them to do that, but also in the case of turn back funds and things that are monetary transfers from the state of Arkansas to, in this case, Pulaski County, that they're done by the book. And anytime you're dealing with election procedures, of course, that whole new set of laws comes in to make sure that they're followed. So I believe that could be of some assistance to you. I'd be happy to speak to the director and the chief counsel and the new chair. I do know this starting Monday, Senator Caldwell will be the Senate chair of the Legislative Joint Auditing Committee. And I guess if the House doesn't know who the chairs are, I know you don't know the standing of. I guess you don't know any of those, but the fact is that the speaker will make that designation next week, or at least we'll know about it. He should do it Monday, but again, I'm one of the 35 people in the state that doesn't have an opinion on how the House does things. That's their prerogative, and they do it the way they feel appropriate. We will have new designated chairs that are over the legislative one on the House. So we do know the Senate chair will be Senator Ron. So, and I'm happy to. I'm sorry.
Can we request an audit of our system of the election commission?
I'm sure that could be done, but how, I don't know. When there's any question of anything coming up, of course, the committee could vote to, in effect, direct the staff to audit certain things if there's any questions about things. And sometimes that would be, in effect, say, go do that, because we've had some inquiries or some, at least rumors of problems, or at least worries about problems. And I think that might require a vote. Then you have to maybe speak a little bit out of on whether that would require, but certainly the individual officers who decide to particular entity can do that. Now, in some cases, and we see this a lot with some municipalities, they are allowed to hire an outside CPA firm to conduct their audits. Of course, that's strictly financial. They follow the general and separate accounting procedures. That is kind of a gray area because it's done by the rules that the state of Arkansas has, but it is actually performed by an outside contractor. That's a little bit outside of my area of knowledge of how we do it. It's certainly a possibility. And as a senator, as part of Pulaski County, I'd be happy to check into that and report back to you on what could be available to assist you to decide. I realize I speak to both of the two commissioners that are present and to Commissioner Price. Thank you for what you've done in a difficult year, but that doesn't mean that certain things don't need to be done, even COVID notwithstanding. And I appreciate the fact that you want to check out what should be done and what how can be corrected in the future, because that's why we're all here, is to, whatever we do going forward, we want to do it, both legally, ethically, and certainly something that is tightly regulated by state law as election procedures. We want to make sure they're all followed. So I'll be happy to make an inquiry to Mr. Norman, who's the director of legislative law, our staff, and to former Judge Frank Gary, who's the chief counsel. We'll get an answer to procedurally how this will proceed. Again, it might require a motion and a vote by the committee itself, but it might also could be initiated simply by an inquiry from your commission to them. We'll find out procedurally how that can proceed.
I do have a question. In your opinion, if, let's say, somebody is her sister and her daughter, does that sound like an issue of nepotism? Does it sound like just on the face of it, that is a good idea?
I would be hesitant to say in a specific sense, but Madam Chair, I think in a generic sense, I think that might at least call into question certain things. It may affect, I'd even defer to Representative House, who's an attorney, who's dealt with a lot of these things, where things might fall within other sections of state law outside anything related to elections or whatever. There was a time in Arkansas where it was very common to have family members working in the office of county officials. It's almost axiomatic that you were a county official and your spouse was an employee in the office, because frankly the Constitution forbade paying living wage to people in service. All accounts in $1874, but we've tried to bring Arkansas into the 20th century, now the 21st century, and that's been severely limited. I'm sure there's instances where you can have family members, but I'm sure they're quite rare, and it certainly need to be looked at and fine-tooth comb to make sure that it's all good. But as far as the specifics, I think we need to look at. And again, you bring things to attention of legislators. We look at it from the standpoint of, do we need to do something to change the law to correct the problem? If we didn't have to do that regularly, we wouldn't meet every 2 years to do general legislation. And that's why we'll be here starting Monday, is to fix those things that you and other citizens bring forth and say, hey, this needs to be looked at. Certainly.
Thank you. We appreciate your service.
Anything we can do to help, I know I speak for Representative-elect Gray, Lowry, Representative House is decided not to go to him. We're going to visit him, but we're going to have him nearby. We hope we all have him on speed dial to get his opinion as both attorney and former legislator, and as a retired attorney. So we appreciate it. But I know I speak to my other colleagues that we'll be here to help you whenever we can. I probably can speak to the entire Pulaski County delegation. Thank you. And please know that to the extent that if the Senate can spare this is a Senate hearing room, it's the old Supreme Court chamber. It's also one of the Senate's committee meeting rooms. Except when we are having legislative meetings, I'm sure if the schedule permits, we'll be able to allow the commission to meet here if you're. Shall we say there's no room at the end?
That is greatly appreciated. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
Well, no, the law is again.
I think that it's some of the high points I wanted to cover. We have session coming up. I thought we had initially had some. Is there anything to session to address in this meeting?
I'm not ready to present the bills yet. I mean, I haven't been there. I haven't sent them, but they're in the process, and I think it would be premature to do so. It's extremely exciting.
I think it is. I think it's gonna be a fun session.
I think with every, I try to look at any kind of bad situation and try to get the positive. And I think out of this, we can find something hopeful, which is making things much better and cleaning up, areas that we can. But, looking at the good things that come out of this, which is being transparent is great. And trying to make that a model around the state of Arkansas. But I like to look at the positive, and I think there's a lot of good that came from that, and try to make it where there is good benefits, so that we don't have any of these issues ever rise again and young people in the state of Arkansas. We can't speak for the insurance.
Well, your deadline has passed, but we need to support. What do you want to do about that? We didn't do anything, what we told them to do. We partially did something else.
Mr. Code did, Mr. Code is on the field.
Yes.
And I honestly don't know how to address that.
I think I know that I got this on the, because I emailed them and he told me about it.
And it's a medical.
My
And I say
understanding
that
is
because that is public information. So honestly, I mean, that's we don't have an attorney to work you. So,
oh, you're.
yeah, we. But
We can
that
request.
is an issue.
We can request from the house.
I have a bigger issue with something else than that at the moment.
Okay, well, that's a bigger issue. That's a pretty big issue.
It is a big issue, I do see it. And again, I think we still have to go through. We still have a lot of information to go through because we're not done. We still have to go through all of the information that's provided from the steering here. But I think we need to address a bigger issue at the moment, and that's something that we do know that's factual. And that is the issue of the unsold ballots.
Yes.
So
Explain it for everyone else.
with Director Poe, he is out on leave, and there are so many issues regarding Director Poe. And a lot of it is needs to be investigated. But there are some blatant issues that took place that were I witnessed personally, which was regarding the removal of methods of silver and then we started finding a person that was in that supervision of the staff member, then reappointing the same person to touch those ballots the same time.
We're talking about Mr. King.
So that is a really
Show you. So I asked the state board to send me a copy of the election monitor report. So we had election monitor. That is for the special election. And I noticed something. I'll show you this picture. You guys can see it. Feel free to send it off to you. What do you notice about those boxes? Give me a pen, it's red. And presumably those are the absentee ballots that are in sealed boxes. They didn't look like that when we saw them. Go through that, when those pictures were taken, go through that report, find out the date of that. No, that's not how we received those ballots. We had chain of custody questions during this whole time. That's how they were when the election monitor saw them. That's not how the absentees were presented to us. That's a problem. And in fact, when you read through the whole report, there's a few things that caught my attention, but that particular picture is absolutely what the bell wants. And I want to know what happened. I mean, there's a lot of questions. I don't know if there's not a lot of answers in there, but I got a lot of questions about that. Yeah, absolutely. See Mr. Camp here. Yes, and that is prior to, I believe, when those three. I believe what happened prior to when he prohibited Mr. Camp from touching ballots. However, it's concerning. We'll take this off so you can hear me. I have some questions about enforcement. And I know we just got these today from the state board. So I'm certain the commissioners have not had time to peruse them in detail. However, I think we should. If you have questions about that, we want to bring them up. We don't need to spend time reading it tonight.
This is the report that was sent to us.
It was.
And others.
It does. That's what it was.
Yeah, I do think we need to have a meeting regarding this issue as well with the issue of the unsealed ballots and the ballots that were unsealed without involving differences. The issue of the appointing hiring of election officials that we never appointed under law. The issue of appointing a person that was decertified for touching those specific ballots. And there's several issues, but that's a big one. This is not an issue, and I'm real tired of being this. And it's laughing to me, honestly. This is not an issue of district agreements or personalities. This is an issue of law and about following the law and about following procedure. The law is very clear. Very clear. The election commission appoints the election officials. We're very clear when we said, do not leave the room very carefully. We're very clear that we will not violate the law. Again, this is not about personalities. It almost seemed intentional to me to have the unsealing of the ballot boxes and not tell the commission. It almost seemed like, we don't really care anything. We're going to go ahead and do this without you. We're going to unseal these ballot boxes, the very ballots been an issue for this entire election, with all these problems of disappearing ballots, reoccurring ballots, mistabulated ballots. And we're gonna instill them, and we're gonna go and hire people that you have not appointed after we specifically told Director Poe very clearly that he cannot, nor shall he not, nor will he ever have the authority to appoint election officials, because he is not the commission. When I asked him in that meeting, when he embarrassed and humiliated me virtually, that very question, when we were appointing election officials. And I said, what do you do if we, in the commission process, the same question, what if we need to add more people? Because we have to say, we need to plan ahead in case, what happens if we need a, we have a cushion and have a buffer. And the question was, what do we do if we need to add, 300, 400 more people? He says, well, we'll do that. I said, no, you don't do that. That's not the law. The law is very clear. The County Board of Election Commissioners appoints election officials. The staff does not. So what the past does, the staff does not just add people. But no, the staff cannot. The staff does not exist anymore. There's nothing that says, well, the staff can go and appoint election officials. It's not a matter of, it's not about duties, responsibilities, who can do what, and titles. It's simply about the law. The law is very clear to this, because at the end of the day, and like I said in the court, it is our butts on the line. And this has been very, very clear as we have all these state claims, state board election commissioners. We have received all these complaints, and guess who is naming them? We are, because we're responsible. We are responsible. Because it's listed in code, it's us. It's not Shawkent, it's not Rockland. So I will say this again. The County Election Commissioners appoints election officials. And we can appoint them.
We can do that right now.
We could do that right now, but I would really like us to go through all the issues in the public's eyes, because I don't think the public, and obviously some parts of the media, do not seem to comprehend the issues.
The magnitude.
The magnitude of the issues. I don't think they have it all bullet pointed down in a list. And I will happily bring my complaint to the state board, which is timelined, starting in August until November 18th. And it is August 18th, August 21st, paragraph. The next day, paragraph. It's simplistically, I left off statutes because the lawyers can figure it out. I'm very well done statutes. But to me, I want to make it where I captured everything. And then I found out I really did, Mr. Swain. But at the end of the day, we need to do that for the public. These are the issues, and then we're going to do this for the public.
So you missed it because your time, you started about 6 months into our term. And we had, I believe it was a mental health lessons learned. Is that Price? Is that what it was called?
Yes, it was like a post-mortem report of the previous election with all the issues that had taken place. It was a bit of a rough draft. However, I know that there had been some discussion about making it more streamlined and kind of the way it was. I don't want to get too much into it, but it read more like a narrative than a report that you could maybe look by issue or by location. And I had some discussion with Mr. Poe about that, but I never saw a second version.
Just what was the report? It was the issues and problems of the last two cycles, or the last 2 years.
Yes.
So since you weren't here, and we were, I'm going to fill you in on something. When Price and I came in at the beginning of 2019, the prior commission had asked for this from Director Poe. Or kind of lessons learned, how can we do, what problems we have, what can we do better? Mr. Coe did not meet the deadline, and we gave him maybe 2 extensions for him to get this to us. It wasn't the most professionally written document, but it seemed to be fairly comprehensive. But Bryce and I were in, so we weren't there previously. But I would like to see that again for the 2019 and 2020, because Mr. Poe was directed to work on this as we went through elections. So we should be able to just go ahead and turn over what he's got, because he's already been directed to do that. So I would like to see that document.
And I would like to ask a question. Is the attorney in the room? Did they answer your question? If someone is on medical leave and they have a deadline and they took medical leave prior to the deadline, but we don't have authority to fire because they're not on medical leave, do we still have authority to desert? And we're still covered under lawsuits. No one can sue us. No one can sue us for that.
No, we sued the court.
But we're not decertifying because someone's on leave.
We're not, that's
No,
not,
it's not the legal of the.
we're not fulfilling their obligation.
Serves at the pleasure of the commission. I think that's pretty clear.
That's my understanding.
If they're not here. That's the process, that's the process. Obviously, I was here, I was exercising federal privilege. Managing the law. So they're on something that's going to be possessed. You don't want to get retaliation. You should court it. You may try some other steps to around. It's general, someone is not going to ask them to reform a whole bunch, a whole bunch of your relation with each family. Some guys, Jefferson County case goes
In the Jefferson County case, did they certify that person?
probably further than my memory reaches on this.
I don't believe that. From my recollection, it's been months since I read it, but my recollection was the director, or I don't know why he's the race director, the coordinator, as what the position is in statute, was hired by the county judge, and the election commission said, no, we do not.
It's usually certified.
So they, I don't think that he was ever certified from the get-go. However, there are a myriad of reasons outside of not meeting this deadline. And I'm certain your deposition, you found out things that I found out regarding the staff. That would be absolute reason to decertify somebody. So I'm not concerned about him not meeting, I am concerned about him not meeting the deadline. And however, just don't even use that as a reason. There's other reasons to decertify. I mean, that's the question. We've got a lot of work with, and the fact that he, at the last straw that he didn't meet the deadline, don't even worry about that. Don't even consider that. Let's look at all the stuff he did do and things he did not do. So if that's what you're concerned about, him currently not being here or being on leave, isn't consequential in fact.
I'm concerned about it not being presented, not ever provided for the District 32 I'm concerned about the county clerk making an error on the street segment that I just found out about, never being provided until to the commission. And,
Egregious, is that the word you're looking for?
everything's been egregious. I'm concerned about the director telling his employees not to answer her phone calls and not to respond to my text when we ask them if we can help them, and putting in a position of a conflict such as that. I don't think that's right.
That's very wrong.
I think that rises to a whole different level. I am concerned when the impropriety between groups, outside groups, are let into private offices during the election, and we cannot enter those same offices. I am concerned regarding complete insubordination that is now passed on to existing.
Well, to be fair, Mr. Camp was quite insubordinate prior to Mr. Cole.
Yes. I am concerned that that has been used as an excuse for conflicting personalities between the chair and the director as reasons for insubordination. I am concerned of the director walking out of the meeting and refusing to interact with the commission, to do his job, to provide paperwork, to lead the meeting, to answer questions from the public, to argue with the commission, to throw his hands in the air, to make comments like, I just don't care.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I believe it was a comment I heard him say regarding lying under oath to the state.
Also, I think from the other complaint, the deposition that I was went through, that Mr. Coe has changed his decision to take responsibility for the laws that he came in front of us and wrote a memo and stood in front of the public and said he takes full responsibility for it. Apparently, it is our fault that he no longer takes responsibility for these things.
I am concerned about the future of operations and policy. And I'm concerned about the influence that certain county officials. And I make that motion to be certified.
All those in favor? To decertify Mr. Brian Poe? Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you repeat? What was your motion?
Based
I mean,
on errors made throughout this election and prior to this election and consolidation, and not being the deadline of January 1st, 2021.
Well, given the fact that he is currently on paternity leave, I personally would not want to decertify him without at least having a follow-up discussion with him and having him present at the meeting. So if that's the motion on the table, then I will say nay.
I will make a friendly amendment to not meet the deadline. If there's an issue with him being on leave.
I will remove the deadline.
Because that's that in and of itself. I'm concerned with, but I'm not really concerned with that because the other issues. Really. Okay, so
I will just simply, based on the issues that have been presented in depositions regarding other information that was completely removed from the commission's knowledge and everything and not provided to the commission. election for the election process.
All those in favor?
That is a nay from me, simply because I'm not saying that mistakes were not made during this election, because they obviously were. But before we would move to decertify our director, I would like to see a catalog of all of these issues, rather than just say based on what was discussed previously. I feel like it should be documented a little bit better than that. But if that's the motion on the table, then it is what it is. But for the record, I'm going to say nay on that.
And we will provide a catalog of all the issues. And the next meeting, when we go through the issues, from the depositions, from the exhibits, and from the monitor. But we can't continue, we can't record like this. We can't continue on like this, trying to go backwards into the road operating. It can't keep up. And we're setting this precedent that this is how we're gonna operate Posse County. We have a lot of distrust in the commission right now because of all these issues, and it's time to put the temporary back on the commission. So, I truly respect you, Commissioner Cross, and I do appreciate that. And we've all been on the same page for this tonight. So thank you.
I just want to make sure we follow the correct procedures as far as HR, legally, and all that. So as long as we look into that, I would request that we do that moving forward with this process.
But absolutely noted, and I'm sure we can follow whatever procedures need to be followed. You want to address this again? Today? I for one want to read his deposition because the questions that I would ask, I have some concerns about him as well. You want to bring that up today? Not today. Yes, Representative House, I see you in the gallery.
Just point of information.
You will?
Yes, God will. Yes.
And this is not official, where, can I have a copy as well? What's the way here? Is there?
I've asked my source to find a court. Citizen. So, this is like.
Sure, you want if there is a cost, well, I'll tell you what, if there's a cost for the court reporter to create these things, should we make a motion to approve whatever cost it takes to get these documents?
Yes, Sean, or Betty, if there is a cost associated with obtaining these documents, we'll have to include that. So I do make the motion that we will cover those costs through the commission's budget, whatever category that will come out of. So that's the motion on the table.
All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
I see a thumbs up from Bryce, was that mine?
Lisa.
Aye.
Yes, it was. So let's do that in, Representative House. If you could just give me, I'm pretty sure you know my contact information, if not after this meeting, we'll make sure to have it.
I think the best line for us to go is directly.
But if you find out something regarding either, you just let me know, find out if there's a payment needed, let me know so I can be corrected. I can get that. Betty, whoever's gonna Betty, I feel like she gets our invoices. Betty's every time I see an invoice, Betty's involved. If there is, I'll let the appropriate staff know, and we need to find out if there's.
It is less than,
And to answer your question, yes, I do receive the invoices.
She said she does receive it.
Okay. Good. But if you find out if there is a cost, if you find out if there's an item, just let me know. And I'll pass that information on to the appropriate staff members.
before we start, I'd like to make a question.
Sure.
Mr. Cantor, do we have any election deadlines coming up or any deadlines regarding anything? Do we have any outstanding?
Not that I'm aware of.
Sir?
I have a question, if I may. So this last, the decision regarding Mr. Poe, is that how long is the duration of that decertification? Is that for indefinitely until further notice? Is that for the next election that may be coming up, whatever that is? Indefinitely.
There's no sunset clause that was part of that motion, so decertified.
I understand it is not removed Mr. Poe from the county's staff. It typically decertifies them from working in elections.
Right.
He's Mr. Barry Heights.
He's the employee of the county judge.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't, that's outside of his,
Whatever Barry Height does.
If that makes sense.
That's his purview.
that's not our employee. So,
Okay. I guess I was just trying to understand what was what all that entailed as far as his job position and whatnot, but that's two different things. So, yeah.
I'd like to add that with no coordinator, all of the power of the staff and the responsibilities of the staff derive from the coordinator. So with no coordinator, the staff has no function.
what was that? Sean, did you say that again? I didn't hear you.
The staff of the election department derives its authority and its power to act from the coordinator. And if the coordinator is not able to work on an election, none of the staff is either.
That's not accurate.
That's incorrect information.
And the county attorney will address that at a later point.
Sure. Next meeting. So, Mr. Camp, deadlines, any deadlines for the month of January?
No,
And no reimbursements that we need to get out
Betty?
or anything that we need to sign off from the previous election, the runoffs.
No, not at this time. I have not completed all of that either.
Deadline for that.
There is no deadline on it because all of that gets billed to cities or school districts for the general elections and the general runoff. They don't get billed to the state.
It's good information, thank you, Betty. Would you like to be
I
first?
would like to give them a little bit of time because I want to be able to go, if I want a session. It's gonna be crazy.
It is.
I want to give us a little time. I want to go through all of this information. I mean, I don't want to picture like I don't want all the rest. So I'm thinking myself time to actually read everything. So I had 2 days.
Jody.
And we really much, very much appreciate all looking about into, do all that. But, I'm gonna go through and really extrapolate everything that's important out of there. That's gonna take weeks. So I don't think we need to have a meeting. It needs to be at least of that, especially the session.
Beyond the 20?
And we also have a new commission,
Yes, we have elections.
possibly.
When, Price, I've got a question for you. When is the Democrat Party, when are you guys gonna meet to elect for your election?
January 25th, the last Monday of this month.
Are you running for reelection?
I am. I am.
Yeah. Good luck.
Good,
Am I allowed to say he's officially candidate, I don't know, I'm elected candidate.
good luck, Commissioner Price.
Thank you. Are you both running for reelection?
You running unopposed, or do you have any opposition?
I don't have any opposition that I know of at this moment.
I guess we'll find out.
And so, what's the statutory, so there's 30 days after, they have 30 days to do the oath. Following, then there's 10 days to notify the clerk after the election or appointment from the county. Ours is the third Thursday, which is what they.
21st.
The 21st. So what?
So you want to be 30 days out? I guess 25th. Give press time. Which day are you specifically looking for? 10 days from the 21st. Next business day is that Monday, first.
Maybe Wednesday the 3rd.
Okay, Wednesday the 3rd, Bryce. God willing that you are still on the commission, is that gonna be a good day for you?
Wednesday, February 3rd. Yes.
I'll try this. It's available, if not, we'll see what we can get.
Panera Bread if you have to. Are they still in business?
Yeah,
Okay, I haven't gone and seen what they're doing.
Here, pizza.
Fine, stuff.
And was, can we say 5:30?
Yeah, getting here right back.
Well, with the session.
We have some experts in session, and I know the session is unpredictable, but if, let's say, we needed some building here in the Capitol, 5:30 on a Wednesday, does that sound like that would conflict with the level that's going on? Okay. We can be elections division library down in the basement. If you have to.
State library.
Yeah.
Saturday?
And Saturday,
Most 99% should be available. So I think so.
okay. Well, then the chair has the, okay, so we'll shoot for Wednesday the 3rd at 5:30. If we can get a room. If it's not available, the chair and so they. So Price, Saturday the 6th, keep that as an alternate. Open.
Noted.
I'm sure we can work something out between those 2 dates.
I think I'm bringing
In fact, I can start working on that. Seeing about which we spot was, I'll get that request in. How is that being able to have zero preference as far as which exact orientation spot? Is there anything else to do for the issue? Yes, Representative Lowry. Yes, no, you have a public comment, sure. Come on up. And thank you for steady beginning with.
Just so everyone knows, I do have a face mask on. It's transparent. I will take it off for the public comment. I just want to thank the commissioners, Commissioner Price, Commissioner Starr, Commissioner Gomez. I've been watching some of the live streaming during the latter parts of the certifications and all that. I also watched the live streaming of Claims Commission meeting and some of that. So I know that you have been dealing with myriad issues and concerns as you've been talking about. The main reason I wanted to go ahead and give this public comment this time was to just issue an invitation as we are beginning a legislative session Monday. There are a number of us that are very eager to see some changes in law that might be able to head off or correct some of the issues that we've seen specifically in Pulaski County. As I've talked to other legislators, they have pointed out to me that it's not just Pulaski County, there are other counties where there are issues as well. One of the things that is most concerned me personally, because I've been so involved in the voter ID law, specifically in terms of protecting election integrity, I've seen that a lot of the issues that you've had to deal with, and this became very clear in watching some of the testimony or the presentations yesterday by both councils, that the absentee ballot, these 27 ballots that possibly should have been counted or whatever, it certainly made it a lot easier if you were viewing one that had an ID included. As you know, we allow that rather than ID to be signed the state. And I think that's created a dramatic problem. I think we've seen it across the United States. I think we've seen it here in Pulaski County. For one thing, there is no uniform standard for signature verification. And at the point that now arguments are, used to argument was made against voter ID based on, well, older people don't have ID. So, if they don't drive anymore, they don't have reason for ID. Well, that's really a pretty thin excuse. People have IDs. But I went ahead and included in the voter ID legislation the signature verification provision. Now the argument that they're using, those who oppose voter ID, is that, well, people's signatures change over time. So we have to have a very wide variance of what we're going to allow. As a conservative, I believe very much in local control, but local control is abused. And I have raised this issue when it comes to public education. So it's not just limited to election integrity, but we have seen abuse of power here in Pulaski County. And so I want to give an open invitation as a legislator, and I know some of my colleagues that are here and others that I've spoken with, we are willing to pass legislation this year. It includes going back and removing the verification of the statement of identification so that it is just an ID, that you have an ID. Because I think the most clear-cut cases I saw yesterday in the testimony provided by Councilman for Representative-elect, sorry, her name is Todd Hudson, her counsel pointing out, looking at an ID that you were able to clarify, okay, the person may not have written their address correctly, but it matches very carefully what was on their ID. Well, if you did not include that ID, you would not have that kind of documentation. So I think it has become problematic, mainly because of the signature verification issue. I think we saw an abuse of that here in Placer County. I certainly will be filing legislation. I've already had it drafted that we will remove that provision for absentee ballots. Possibly even remove it in terms of provisional ballots, of whether you could cure a provisional ballot by signing the statement, or whether you should have to come back and show your ID. I think the issue is to have an ID. So we're going to go for that. But I think also this issue of jurisdiction of election commission or election staff is something that we need to rein in. We need to make sure that the staff answers to the county commission, the commission members. So having said all of that, just want to let you know that I appreciate all the work that you've done. This has been a very instructional election cycle, not just here in Arkansas, but what we've seen around the country. And as I told someone the other day, if we don't raise a voice of concern about election impropriety in other states, whether it changes the result of the presidential election, if we don't raise a voice about that, we don't document this, then we could see that as a blueprint that could be exported to all kinds of states, including the state of Arkansas, on how to steal elections. And so thank you very much for your work and for this opportunity to provide this.
Thank you so much. And, absentee voting, it's case law, but that's considered a privilege, not a right. The right is, if voting on election day, is, I believe, the right. So, very interesting. Thank you, Representative Lowry. Appreciate any comments you have.
I'm just happy you took 2 bill drafts off of my plate.
Yes.
Did you have
Is there anything else you want to get a public comment?
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Are you aware of any other, did you receive any I didn't receive any emails that I'm aware of.
Just heard my child that would be I Representative-elect Ray. Did you have any public comment?
Yes, they have not.
Colonel House? Did you have anything?
A couple of things that you have mentioned, and we'll have the documentation here in a day or two, are in fact misdemeanors. Statute of limitations on misdemeanors generally is 1 year. So stuff that happened more than 1 year, forgive it to move on. It's nothing's going to happen. It does not excuse misbehavior or in this situation. Really want to talk about that. Allowing people to handle ballots that have not been certified as election officials by commission is a misdemeanor. And then it works. Excuse me, I should say this. It could be a felony. What the prosecuting attorney decides to do about that is generally prosecutors purview, but we know what happened. And to the extent that it can be documented or still proven correctly, then it is very prosecuted.
I'm working on that. So along with all the bills I've drafted, I created a spreadsheet that bill summaries, and then next to that, I'm referring to those direct issues that are being held at the statutes and the example, the instance. And then, that was asked to be the video, and I'm gonna do that specifically. So then that would make it very easy to hand over. And
And this dealt with a federal election. So not, there may be some federal statutes. that would be encouraged for- I know it's a working document.
and not yet.
So,
Well, because, there's a lot of moving parts and,
that's fine.
there's just a lot.
When it is ready to share,
Absolutely.
I would like to see it.
Absolutely. That will come before the commission.
Anything else for the group?
Okay.
You need us plenty of comment out there because you receive anything? None? Well, then our next meeting is set as tentatively for 5:30, February 3rd. And that's gonna be based on if there is a meeting space available. And then we have an alternate date, Saturday the 6th, if we cannot find a suitable, location on it. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of that. Happy New Year, anyone not say Happy New Year? Bryce, good luck with your reelection.
Thank you. You as well.
Our next meeting.